Hello, I'm George Coates here for Student Knowledge, today talking to Roger Black. Roger, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
I thought we'd start with your early life. What was your first foray into competitive racing?
Well, I mean, I came to athletics actually very late. When I was at school, I was the fastest kid at school, but I didn't like athletics. I loved team sports, so I played rugby, I played football, I even played cricket. I wasn't very good at cricket. I loved just being part of the team, but I was the fastest kid at school, so when we played rugby, you chuck me on the wing, chuck me the ball, and round I go. I didn't know I was that quick, because it's only in the school and in the county. I didn't know I was someone who could go to the Olympics. And I actually, I did a bit of athletics at school, but not a lot. And actually, it was a twist of fate, really. I messed up one of my A-levels. I was going to be a doctor, and I had to retake my maths A-level. So I had a year off because I was rejected from university. And whilst I was studying to retake the maths, I joined the local athletics club down in Southampton, really, because I knew I was good, but I'd never trained or taken it seriously, and was very lucky that I trained with a couple of athletes who were the best in the country, Chris Akabusi, who you've met, and a guy called Todd Bennett, and very quickly found that I was better than I thought I was, and within a few months I actually won my first international vest. So if I hadn't, if I got my grade B instead of a D in my maths, I probably would have gone straight to Newcastle University Barts in London, and read medicine and would never have run.
You said about working with Chris and the team. How did you find life adapting to being in a team?
Well, I loved, and I still do, I love being part of a team. I think you get people who are very suited to individual performance, whether that's at work or in sport. They like being an individual, being accountable for their performance, and don't necessarily like relying on other people. And then you get people who like to be part of a team, and the problem with that is sometimes you can hide if you're part of a team. And I was sort of a mixture of both. So for me, being in a team environment, which athletics isn't really, you're training with lots of people, but you're really performing individually, unless it's in the relay. It's still very individual sport. I still found it a challenge, but because I had people around me training, pursuing their goals as well, it became fun. And I'm just a great fan of teamwork. I fundamentally believe if you want to achieve something, it's far more likely if you do it with other people around you on the same journey. So I made my athletic career as much a team environment as I could. I would have found it very hard if it had been an individual environment for me. I'm not sure I would have achieved what I did.
Did you find the team stuff easier, more fun than your individual?
Yeah, I was always... Look, ultimately, in my sport, you would be judged on what you did individually. The relay running was a bit of a bonus. But I always enjoyed that environment. I always enjoyed being part of a team. I always enjoyed the banter. I always enjoyed sharing success and defeat with other people. It can be quite lonely when you're on your own. Even if you're standing on the Olympic rostrum on your own, it's fantastic. But that moment is a very personal one, which is great. When you achieve part of a team, a relay team in particular, you have it for the rest of your lives. And the bond I have with my relay runners is as strong now as it was all those years ago when I ran. And I think that's what teamwork is all about.
You said you came to sport quite late in your life. Did that change your attitude when sport started becoming a primary thing in your life?
For me, up until I was 18, sport was just something I did for fun. I never ever thought I would make a career in sport. It was never my dream. It was never my... I went to a grammar school. You go to a grammar school to get your A-levels and go and become a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, or a vet, or whatever. It wasn't to be a sports person. It really wasn't. But then I realised my talent, and I realised that I was given the talent, and I realised that I had an opportunity to do something very special. And it was still fun, but it became a bit more serious, because obviously if you're trying to win Olympic medals and you have to train pretty hard, you have to be on top of your game, and you can't be too relaxed. I mean, even Usain Bolt, who looks so relaxed, he is training hard, he is taking it seriously. It became, certainly towards the end, with the injuries and all that, it became quite a serious occupation, really, because it was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of expectation by myself, but also from the public, and it was still fun, but it wasn't as much fun as it had been in the early days. And I think most sports people will say that. It's very hard to keep it as fun and fresh as you become better. One of the challenges is to keep it simple as you become better, but it does become quite serious and quite important. So it was a challenge. But I think I got it into perspective.
You've won 15 major medals over your career. How do the Olympic medals and the golds, like the other golds, compare to that famous 4x400 win against the Americans?
All medals are different. Okay, in our business, the Olympic medals are the most important. Ultimately, for me as an athlete, I will ultimately be judged by my peer group on my Olympic silver medal in 1996, where I was second to the great Michael Johnson. Ultimately, as a performer, that was my greatest achievement, because it was in the individual event at the Olympic Games, which in our business is ultimately the most important medal of all. However, if you're talking about impact and just making your mark in history, then winning the World Championships in 1991 in the relay team with Chris Akabusi, John Regis and Derek Redmond has had a greater impact on British sporting history than me winning a silver medal in the 400 metres. It was just a very special race. I mean, I won a second gold medal 6 years later at the World Championships. We actually came second, but then got the gold because the Americans were taking drugs. And that really didn't have a big impact. And it would never have had the, even if we won, it wouldn't have had the same impact as 1991, because 1991 was special. It was special because it had never been done before. It was special because we changed the running order, we did something different. It was special because we beat the Americans and they were unbeatable. But it was also special because the four runners in that race were characters and were known at the time. It wasn't just four athletes people didn't know. It was myself, Akabusi, John Regis, Derek Redmond. We were all successful in our own right. We were known in our own right, but we came together to do something very special. It had a very big impact, and it's a long time ago. It's a long, long time ago. But the race is still part of sporting history, and I'm really proud about that. Really, really proud of that. The great thing about it is it's the story that matters. You didn't have to be alive to enjoy the story. The challenge is when we show the footage, it's a bit old and grainy and the quality, but there's nothing we can do about that. Adds a bit of character to it. But it was a long time ago. It was 1991. And I meet many, many people who remember it when they were 6 or 7, 8 years old. You know, people like yourself weren't even born. It really didn't register. But a great story can be told for many, many years, fortunately.
Roger, thanks so much for talking to me today.
Cheers, thank you.
Cheers.